Take a look at what this paint contractor left for us today. Do you think this looks like a mistake, or do you think this is more intentional? Now with that answer, do you think we need to fire somebody today? Perhaps they just had a bad day and said, screw it, somebody else will take care of it. Maybe they had a new person come do this job and they didn't know any better. But is that my problem or not? Well, it's our property and it needs to be fixed, so yeah, it is my problem. So let's get after it. The very first thing that came to my mind was, well, they're gonna get charged for this. So as I'm having fun pulling all this tape off, I start adding things up and doing the math on it. So we're gonna use a razor blade. That's gonna end up setting them back a whole, I don't know, 3 cents. And sure, it's satisfying to watch and I get to make a video out of it, but it's gonna take me a whole like 3 minutes to do it. So what do you think? If you walk into your property and see this, what are you doing? How much do you charge? And at the end of the day, are you gonna fire? This tip here is a good one to remember. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get those nails started. And yeah, you're not gonna wanna use a pipe wrench to get it going. So just use this little catch here. Most of us use toilet paper and have leftover toilet paper roll. We all do laundry, so let's put all of that extra lint in the toilet paper roll. Now throw it in a Ziploc bag to keep it dry. For what, you ask? Camping, hiking, survival. Hit that bad boy with a spark, or you can use a lighter. This will give you plenty of time and heat to get a fire going. As we know, it's hotter than and when it gets hot, some things smell. And yes, as you would guess, I got a trick for that. I like to throw a little degreaser in there. Well, or a lot. Now go ahead and put about 6-8 inches of water in. Now we've already determined that it's hot out, so just close the lid. Let it sit a couple hours in the sun. That water will heat right up and loosen up all that problem.
Your dishwasher stinks, and this is part of the reason. This is the filter that catches all the food that you leave on your plate before it goes down your drain. Check this regularly and give it a thorough clean. You're welcome.
As I'm sure you're aware, not all strippers are created equal. Some of these strippers just have better luxuries. In fact, some of them are just easier to use. And of course, it goes without saying, absolutely do not pick up that clipping off the floor. Lawnmower, weed whip, snowblowers, they are all small engines and they have to be kept up. This is a fuel filter on a steel weed whip. Simply put off and put a new one back on. I bet that your wash machine stinks so bad, and this is part of the reason. Wash machines can be pretty gross, so come along and let's clean it out. I'm going to start by pulling out this tray where all the detergent is, and that we got to clean in there too. Here, take a look at this slimy mess on the back side of this drawer right here. Let's let that soak for a minute. Now, let's take a look inside this seal. Go ahead, grab your significant other's toothbrush and get to work. Once you get that good and clean, let's move on to the filter. Now this is going to be the fun part for you. Let's start by pulling out this little thing. Once you drain that hose, you can pull out this filter. Now of course mine doesn't look too bad because I've done this before. You probably haven't, so it's going to be gross. Now just run a tub cleaning cycle and you're good.
Do you have a slow bathroom drain? Here's how to fix it. This is a P-trap. It holds the water and stops the gases from coming up into your bathroom. So grab your wife's fancy towel or a bucket. Loosen these nuts to get the water out. This is where you'll experience some good smells and probably some gross stuff. And while we're down here, this is a $25 snake. That's where you would snake if the clog is beyond the trap. Women, if your drain stinks, that's the part you need to clean, and clean these connections really well. It was time to start the kitchen demo. So the first thing we have to do in order to start that is we have to remove the appliances. This one is a gas range, so we got to shut the gas off. Then it's time to disconnect the dishwasher. Easy enough, right? Now what we got to do is we got to disconnect the actual sink and the garbage disposal. Countertop removal is always fun. Lastly, it's time to get rid of that nasty backsplash. Top and the bottom, and we're going to pull it out in big chunks. With that out of the way, we can start prepping the kitchen cabinets. I use some paper, a little bit of blue tape, and got after it. When it comes to painting, prep is by far the most important part. Now that it's all taped off and cleaned, we can hit it with the first coat of primer. Painting the frames is the easy part. Doing the doors, not so much. This part takes a lot of space. The last few steps, we threw in the countertops, dropped in backsplash, and finally, it was time for some staging. Here's how it turned out.
For yourself. This one might hurt a couple people's feelings. Let's say you get a pinhole leak in your copper pipe. Instead of calling a plumber for $150 an hour, let me show you how to fix it. And before we get too far, remember, it's not 1970 anymore. Techniques have changed and so have products. We don't need to solder. That's where these shark bites come in real handy. They literally just push right out. But they, of course, also connect to PEX, which is also much improved from using copper. We'll get to that in a second. That little tool there can remove the PEX, which that's not fun to do with solder. Some of you might be wondering what's the benefit of PEX. Here's one example. Do you have a problem in your house of running out of hot water? Let's shut your water off and your hot water heater off. Now let's drain the tank. Hook up a garden hose and run it to the drain. This will get rid of all the minerals and junk that's floating around in there. Now we can also replace this rod if it's super corroded. This rod attracts all the minerals so it doesn't rust out your tank. Find your model number and pick one up for $30. When it comes to replacing an outlet or a switch, you have a couple options. And today I'm going to show you why I don't use the backstabbing option, or some just call it a push connect. As you can see in this demonstration, it's not perfectly tight and can move around, versus using the screw, which we know is tight. If it's not tight, it can get hot and burn. But for all the Sparkies that say push connect is okay, are you okay with using these inside of a box versus a wire nut? Personally, I'm not, but I'd love to hear
Here are your other daily tips. Do you have one of these loose handrails? Before we can fix it, we gotta know why. And the answer's right down here. There's a little rod that sticks down into a bracket. In most cases, that bracket looks just like this. So with that being said, all you have to do is give the damn thing an attitude adjustment. Now we know how to clean the overflow, see part 1. Now it's time to tackle the drain. Let hot water go through the drain for about a minute, and you guessed it, more soap. While that soaks, let's go down on this sink. This is where we'll find the trap. They call it that because there's always water in it, keeping the gases from coming into your house. Loosen up these nuts to remove the trap. Remember to snap a couple pictures so you know how it comes back together. Make sure you wear gloves. It's going to stink. When it comes to reassembly, do not put a pipe wrench. They do not need to be that tight. So you can either clean this or replace it for like $1 at the hardware store. This nut back here operates the pop-up drain. That needs to be cleaned too. Imagine what that smells like. For this part, I just use paper towel and a dowel, and I push it all the way through until it pops out the bottom. Blech. Gross, but it won't stink anymore. I'm willing to bet your bathroom vanity stinks so bad, and this is part of the reason. We're gonna have a few steps, but this is step 1. Some of these will come out, and some don't, but that's a start. First, I should tell you that this is just an overflow. Down inside there, this water drains straight down and into your drain. Let's start by filling up that spot with some soap. Take that Dawn dish soap and get mad with it in this spray bottle. That's when we bust out these bad boys. This is a straw cleaner. Yep, link for that's gonna be in the bio. You can just come in here and clean them out just like this. Now let's make sure we rinse it all out, get some hot water in there. Yep, that's gonna smell like roses now. Part 2 is gonna be cleaning that animal there. Today, I'm having a little trouble getting a screw out of this wall here. I'm just not strong enough, so you can simply take your screw gun and put the chuck around the head. Get that chuck nice and tight on the head, and you can throw it in reverse, and it works really well. Actually, it's almost like it was designed to do it. Take a look. Tiling can be a little bit intimidating, but this tile leveling system is absolutely amazing. I mean, look how easy it is to make it perfect. All you have to do is twist these little tops on and it's done. I just think it's so cool that anybody can do this. You have really low water pressure in your faucets? There are a few possibilities, but today we're going to take a look at the cartridge. Cartridges are inside the faucet handles, and they are the mechanics to starting and stopping the water. Sometimes we have hard water that builds up in these, and other times we have debris. In this case, we have big chunks of debris. So we're going to simply remove the boulders on this job. If you need a replacement cartridge, take it with you to the stores to get the exact one. I bet a lot of you have screens that are ruined by pets or kids. Here's how to fix it. This little rubber piece is called a spline, and it needs to be removed to remove the screen. Super easy, comes right out. Then go ahead and get rid of that, and this is likely going to make a mess. We'll get to that. Take your new screen and loosely lay it over the product you're working on. This is a screen tool, and it's going to be linked in my bio. Take that spline and run it right back into that groove. Go all the way around, and now take a knife and cut around there, so get rid of the excess. I'll get that out of the way. 2 daily tips in 1. If you have a screen door that isn't gliding right, this is what you need to oil, and be sure to do it over the carpet, just in case you spill. Lastly, make sure you clean up to keep the significant other happy.